Good morning, dear students. We have been discussing alkaline earth metal hydrides, isn't it? So, alkaline earth metal hydrides means beryllium hydride, then beryllium hydride, magnesium hydride, then calcium hydride, strontium hydride, and barium hydride, isn't it? Beryllium hydride, then magnesium hydride, then calcium hydride, strontium hydride, and barium hydride. Okay, so here this in this case this beryllium hydride, it is covalent in nature. Then magnesium hydride, it is partly covalent and partly ionic. Magnesium hydride, it is partly covalent and partly ionic. These things we have discussed in our last session, right? Then coming to the case of calcium, strontium and barium hydrides, they are ionic in nature. Okay. Then when these hydrides, when they are dissolved in water, normally these hydrides we can write using this general formula MH2. Okay, instead of this beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium and barium, we are writing it as MH2, metal. Okay, MH2. When it is dissolved in water, okay, when treated with water, 2 molecules of H2O, we will be having the hydroxide of that particular metal, that is metal hydroxide, MOH twice. OH group is hydroxide. So MOH twice plus 2 molecules of hydrogen. So this is hydrogen gas. The hydrogen gas will be liberated. So when these hydrides, when they are dissolved in water, they will be forming corresponding hydroxides and hydrogen gas will be liberated. Then coming to the thermal stability of the hydrides. Thermal stability of this alkaline earth metal hydrides, what happens is that the thermal stability, it decreases down the group. Thermal stability decreases down the group. Thermal stability decreases down the group. That is, in this order, the thermal stability will be decreasing. For example, see in the case of beryllium and magnesium, it is partly covalent, and magnesium hydride, it is partly covalent and partly ionic. So we can it is not suitable to consider these two particular compounds, that is beryllium hydride and magnesium hydride. We can go through the cases of this ionic hydrides, that is calcium, strontium and barium hydrides. Okay, so the thermal stability or the order of stability of these calcium hydride, strontium hydride and barium hydride, the thermal stability, the order will be like this: calcium, strontium and barium hydrides. The thermal stability will be maximum for this calcium hydride, then greater than strontium hydride, greater than barium hydride. So the thermal stability is maximum in the case of calcium hydride and it will be least in the case of barium hydride. Okay, so thermal stability maximum in calcium hydride. The thermal stability, it will be decreasing like this. So thermal stability decreases down the group. So in the down the group means beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. So down the group means it will be like this, isn't it? So down the group, the thermal stability decreases. Then coming to the case of reactivity of these hydrides. While considering the case of reactivity, means reactivity will be the just opposite, right? See here, thermal stability means by during the application of heat, what happens? The compound which is least dissociated will be calcium hydride, isn't it, by the action of heat. So what about the reactivity? The reactivity will be in the reverse order. That means calcium hydride will be the least reactive, then comes strontium hydride, then comes barium hydride. So the reactivity will be in this order. That is, the reactivity for barium hydride is maximum and for calcium hydride is minimum. Okay, so this is regarding the alkaline earth metal hydride. So you have to study all these points in the case of this hydrides. Okay, so the hydrides, alkaline earth metal hydrides, it is over. Then the next is we can go through the sulfates of this alkaline earth metals. Okay, sulfates of this alkaline earth metals. Sulfates of alkaline earth metals. See, normally alkali metal sulfates, they are soluble in water, isn't it, that we have seen. Alkali metal sulfates are soluble in water. Alkali metal sulfates means the group 1 sulfates. Okay, the group 1 sulfates, they are soluble in water. Here in the case of alkaline earth metals, they have got lower solubility while comparing with that of this alkali metal sulfates. Okay, lower solubility than this alkaline earth metals. Sorry, lower solubility than alkali metals. They have got a lower solubility than the alkali metals. Okay. So we can write some of the sulfates of this alkaline earth metals, that is beryllium sulfate, then magnesium sulfate, beryllium, magnesium, then calcium, then strontium, strontium and barium sulfate. Okay, so these are the sulfates: beryllium sulfate, magnesium sulfate, calcium sulfate, strontium sulfate and barium sulfate. So here the solubility of the sulfates decreases down the group. Solubility decreases down the group. Solubility decreases down the group. Okay, that means beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, like that it will be decreasing solubility. So the solubility will be maximum in the case of beryllium sulfate. See here, beryllium sulfate and magnesium sulfate, it is coming at the top position, isn't it? That means it is highly soluble. And also this calcium sulfate, strontium and barium, they are sparingly soluble. They are partly soluble. You might have seen this barium sulfate, calcium sulfate and strontium sulfate in your mixture analysis, right, in your +2, isn't it? You had identified some anions and cations. So there you might have seen this calcium, barium, strontium or barium sulfate. So they are sparingly soluble or they are partly soluble. But these two, beryllium and magnesium sulfates, they are highly soluble. Okay. Then the next, the solubility, and the strontium and barium, it is insoluble. Okay, calcium sulfate is sparingly soluble. Calcium sulfate is sparingly soluble. Sparingly soluble means partly soluble. But in the case of strontium sulfate and barium sulfate, these two, strontium sulfate and barium sulfate, they are insoluble. They are insoluble. Okay. Then the next is that, see here, the solubility, it depends upon two factors. That is the solubility, it mainly depends upon two factors. Solubility depends on two factors. The first one, that is the hydration energy, and the second one, that is the lattice energy. Hydration energy, and the second one, that is the lattice energy. Normally the solubility of an ionic solid. So these are all ionic solids, right? Calcium sulfate, barium sulfate, etc. are ionic solids. That means they will be having plus or minus charges. So these ionic solids, the solubility of these ionic solids depends upon the hydration energy as well as the lattice energy. And also you might have known about this hydration energy and lattice energy. What do you mean by hydration energy? Hydration energy means it is the energy liberated. Hydration energy, it is the energy liberated. Normally energy will be liberated in the form of heat, right? So it is the energy related when the ions in the solid gets hydrated. When the ions in the solid gets hydrated. Okay, so hydration energy, it is the energy liberated when the ions in the solid get hydrated. And also lattice energy means it is the energy involved during the formation of a crystal lattice, isn't it? So lattice energy, it is the energy with which the ions in the solid, the energy with which the ions in the solid are held together. with which the ions in the solid are held together. Okay, so hydration energy means it is the energy liberated when the ions in the solid gets hydrated, or when a particular solid when it is hydrated, the energy liberated, it is called as a hydration energy. While in the case of lattice energy means it is the, that means when two ions, when a positive and negative ions, when they are taken closer together, what happens, the energy involved for keeping these two ions closer, that energy we can call it as the lattice energy. Okay, so normally, while in the case of normally these hydration energy as well as the lattice energy, they are inversely related. Hydration energy is inversely related to lattice energy. Okay, that means if hydration energy increases, lattice energy decreases, or if lattice energy increases, hydration energy decreases. And also, if the lattice energy is very high, what happens? The solubility will be very low. Okay, if the lattice energy is high, then the solubility will be low. Solubility will be low. Okay, so that is the relation connecting these two. So if the lattice energy means the energy which is involved for holding the plus and minus ions, the positive and the negative ions together. So for if an ion it is held tightly, what happens? The solubility will be very low. It will not be easily soluble in that particular solvent. Okay, so that is the statement here. The lattice, if the lattice energy is high, the solubility will be low. Okay. Then the next case of from beryllium to barium, starting from Be2 plus, Mg2 plus, beryllium, magnesium, then calcium, then strontium and barium. When from beryllium to barium, what happens is that the hydration energy decreases. From beryllium to barium, the hydration energy decreases. From beryllium to barium, hydration energy decreases. And also down the group, what happens? The size of the cation also increases down the group, isn't it? This is down the group. Here the size of the cation will be increasing down the group because the number of shells will be increasing down the group. Okay. And also the solubilities of this alkaline earth metals, they will be decreasing down the group, that we had discussed already. So hydration energy decreases down the group, then solubility also decreases down the group. Solubility decreases down the group. Okay. So the solubility is decreasing down the group because due to the decrease in the hydration energies. Decrease in the hydration energies. Then the next is, on heating, what happens to this sulfates? That is the next reaction, that is action of heat on sulfates. Action of heat on sulfates. So sulfates, I will be representing it as MSO4. On heating, it will be decomposing. This delta means heat. Okay, so MSO4 on heating, it will be dissociating to metal oxide plus sulfur trioxide. Okay, metal oxide plus sulfur trioxide. So it will be decomposing to metal oxide and sulfur trioxide. So again, we have to go through the temperature of decomposition of some of these compounds. For example, beryllium sulfate, then magnesium sulfate, calcium sulfate, barium sulfate. Okay, beryllium, magnesium, calcium, calcium, strontium sulfate. Okay, calcium sulfate and strontium sulfate. See, the temperature of decomposition for beryllium sulfate, it is 773 Kelvin. For magnesium sulfate, it is 1168 Kelvin. For calcium sulfate, it is 1422 Kelvin. And for strontium sulfate, it is 1647 Kelvin. So what do you mean by this values? Beryllium, for beryllium sulfate, the temperature of decomposition. For beryllium sulfate, the temperature of decomposition is 773 Kelvin. That means if we are supplying 773 Kelvin to beryllium sulfate, it will be decomposing to beryllium oxide and sulfur trioxide. Okay. Likewise, if we are supplying 1168 Kelvin, see how much high is the temperature. Okay. See, if we are supplying 1168 Kelvin to magnesium sulfate, it will be decomposing to oxides and sulfur trioxide. Then similarly in the case of calcium and as well as strontium. Okay, so the temperature of decomposition is increasing down the group, that is starting from beryllium to strontium. The temperature of decomposition is increasing. That means we have to supply more amount of heat energy to decompose that particular compound, isn't it? For beryllium sulfate it is 773, for strontium sulfate it is 1647. That is almost double or triple, not triple, it is double and above, isn't it? That much heat we have to supply for decomposing this strontium sulfate. So in general we can say that the thermal stability of the sulfates of alkaline earth metals, that will be increasing down the group, isn't it? So here we are supplying more amount of heat, that means the compound will be more stable. Okay, so the thermal stability, so we can write the statement as thermal stability of alkaline earth metals, thermal stability of alkaline earth metals, what happens? Increases down the group. That is another point to be noted down. Thermal stability of the alkaline earth metals increases down the group. Okay. So this is regarding the thermal stability of alkaline earth metals. Hope you are clear with this. The stability as well as the solubility. Okay. Then the next is regarding, so we had gone through hydrides as well as sulfates. Then the next one remaining, that is the oxides of alkaline earth metals. Okay. Oxides of alkaline earth metals. Oxides of alkaline earth metals. See, normally these alkaline earth metals, they will be reacting with air. Reacting with air means reacting in the presence of oxygen. Okay, so they will be reacting with air or oxygen to form their corresponding oxides. Okay. This alkaline earth metals, that will be reacting with air or oxygen. So reaction with air or oxygen. Reaction with air or oxygen. So we can write the general form of that particular equation. Metal plus oxygen in the presence of air, then heat in the presence of heat to form metal oxide, MO, metal oxide. So here M can be beryllium, magnesium or calcium. M can be, metal can be beryllium, magnesium or calcium. Then again, metal plus oxygen on heat giving MO2. Okay, so this is the first one, that is metal oxide, and the second one, that is metal dioxide. So here this metal can be strontium or barium. Okay, so first one, that is a monoxide, second one, that is a dioxide. And also the reaction with oxygen, that increases down the group. Reaction with oxygen increases down the group. Reaction with oxygen increases down the group. Okay. And also normally these oxides, they are stable. The so formed oxides, they are stable and also ionic in nature. They are stable and ionic in nature. Ionic means they will be forming a crystal lattice, isn't it? Or they will be having plus or minus ions, isn't it? Holding together with the help of lattice energy. So the oxides, they are usually stable and as well as ionic in nature. Then coming to the case of beryllium oxide and magnesium oxide, they are insoluble in water. Beryllium oxide and magnesium oxide, they are insoluble in water. That means they will not dissolve in water. Beryllium oxide and magnesium oxide. So here the reason for the insolubility in water is that they have got large lattice energies. We had already seen the relation connecting lattice energies and solubility, isn't it? So they have got larger lattice energies. That is why they are insoluble in water. Okay. Then again, in the case of calcium oxide, CaO, this calcium oxide, it will be reacting with water to form corresponding calcium hydroxide, CaOH twice plus H2O. Okay, calcium oxide plus water giving calcium hydroxide plus H2O. See here, this calcium hydroxide means it is in the form of ion Ca2 plus and OH2 OH minus, isn't it? The calcium hydroxide, it will be in the form of ions. So this calcium oxide, they will be dissolving in water to form their hydroxide. So this hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, it is also ionic in nature. Then considering the case of the basic strength of these oxides, basic strength of the oxides formed here, basic strength of the oxides. Beryllium oxide, it is amphoteric in nature. Amphoteric means it is neutral in nature. Beryllium oxide is amphoteric. That means it can behave both as an acid or a base. It can behave both as an acid or as a base. Okay. So here beryllium oxide, if it is reacting with water, HCl. If it is reacting with HCl, what is the product? Beryllium chloride, BeCl2 plus H2O. Okay. Then again beryllium oxide plus sodium hydroxide. So this is an acid, isn't it? HCl. Then sodium hydroxide, it is an alkali or a base, isn't it? So on reaction with base, it will be forming sodium berylate, Na2BeO2 plus H2O. Sodium berylate. Sodium berylate, BeRyLate, sodium berylate. Okay. So beryllium oxide, it is amphoteric in nature. Amphoteric means it can behave both, it can react with an acid or react with a base, or it can behave as an acid or a base. So beryllium oxide, it will be reacting with HCl to form beryllium chloride. With sodium hydroxide, it forms sodium berylate. So these are some of the reactions of beryllium oxide. Then the case of calcium hydroxide, CaOH twice. Calcium hydroxide on reaction with HCl, 2 molecules of HCl, it forms, what will be the product? Calcium chloride. Okay, it will be CaCl2 plus H2O. Calcium chloride and water. Okay, so these are some regarding the basic strength of these particular oxides, and also the basic strength increases down the group. The basic strength increases down the group. The basic strength increases down the group. That point also you have to note down. Okay, basic strength increases down the group, and also the nature of beryllium oxide, it is amphoteric in nature. Okay. Then the next is regarding the solubility of this alkaline earth metal oxides. Solubility of alkaline earth metal oxides. Solubility of alkaline earth metal oxides. See, regarding the solubility, with the increase in the atomic number, the solubility also increases. With the increase in atomic number, the solubility also increases. Solubility increases means they will be having, what about the lattice energy? If the solubility is increasing, that means the lattice energy will be decreasing. Okay, so down the group, the lattice energy decreases, so the solubility also increases. Okay, decrease in lattice energy, so that is why the solubility increases down the group. Increase in atomic number means down the group there will be an increase in atomic number. Okay, so we can write the solubility in this order: beryllium oxide, then magnesium oxide, then calcium oxide, then strontium oxide and barium oxide. Beryllium oxides of all these alkaline earth metals. So down the group, what happens? Solubility increases. So the order will be like this: beryllium oxide less than magnesium oxide, calcium oxide less than strontium oxide, less than barium oxide. So barium oxide, it is having the highest solubility. So in this order, the solubility increases. Solubility increases down the group. Okay. Then this is about the solubility of alkaline earth metal oxides. That is, if increase in atomic number, the solubility also increases, or down the group solubility increases because there is a decrease in lattice energy of this particular oxides. Then coming to the thermal stability of these oxides. Thermal stability of these oxides. See here, this alkaline earth metal oxides, they are highly stable. Alkaline earth metal oxides are highly stable. And also see here, in the case, that means normally this oxides will be MO. That means M2 plus and O2 minus. It will be in the ionic form. And also see here, this beryllium oxide, consider the case of beryllium oxide, BeO. It is covalent in nature, beryllium oxide, but it has got a high melting point. Okay, beryllium oxide, it is covalent in nature, and also it has got a high high melting point, and also it has got a Woodside structure. Woodside structure. And except beryllium oxide, all other oxides, they are ionic in nature. Okay, all other oxides are ionic in nature. Okay, so considering the thermal stability means, suppose if we are supplying some amount of heat, whether the compound decompose or not. So all these compounds, all these alkaline earth metal oxides, they are highly stable, and it will be in the form of ionic form, isn't it? M2 plus and O2 minus. That means they are in ionic nature, except beryllium oxide. Beryllium oxide, it is predominantly covalent in nature. It has got a high melting point and also an Woodside structure. Okay, so this is about the thermal stability of this alkaline earth metal oxides. Okay, then one of the physical properties I had skipped, that is the inert pair effect. Okay, physical properties, that also I will take now. So you have to add this particular portion, this inert pair effect, in the physical properties. Okay, inert pair effect. Inert pair effect also you have to add in the properties that we have discussed. We have discussed so many properties, right? That is like the oxidation state, then metallic nature, then electronegativity, electropositivity. So many properties we have discussed. So in that properties you have to add this inert pair effect also. Okay, so please write down the inert pair effect. Not physical properties, you have to write the general properties. Okay, general properties, you have to add inert pair effect. Okay, so this inert pair effect, it is applicable to both S as well as P block elements. Okay, it is applicable to S block as well as P block elements. S block elements means it will be having group 1 and group 2. Okay, for S block. Then coming to the case of P block, what all groups will be coming? Group 13, then group 14, then 15, 16 and 17, isn't it? So all these groups will be coming under the P block. So S and P block will be constituting the representative elements, and this inert pair effect, it is applicable for both S block as well as P block. Okay. And so normally in the case of group 13, I am taking the case of this group 13. Group 13 means it is the boron family. Okay, boron, group 13 is boron family, group 14 is carbon family, group 15 is nitrogen family, group 16 oxygen family, and group 17 halogen family, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, etc. So this is boron, aluminium, then gallium, then indium, thallium. Okay, that is the group 13 family: boron, aluminium, gallium, indium and thallium. Then Group 14 is, the elements are carbon, silicon, germanium, tin and lead. Group 14, carbon, silicon, germanium, tin and lead. That is group 14 elements. Then coming to the group 15, they are nitrogen, then phosphorus, arsenic, then antimony and bismuth. Group 15, nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, Sb, antimony and bismuth. Then coming to the group 16 elements, that is oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium and polonium. Oxygen, sulfur, selenium, tellurium and polonium. Then group 17, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine and astatine. Okay, astatine you can you should not consider for the time being. So these are the elements, and also while considering the case of group 1, it will be hydrogen is an exception. Then comes lithium, beryllium, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium and francium. Francium we can avoid, it is a radioactive element. Then coming to the case of group 2, it is beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium. Okay, so these are the elements coming under these S and P block, right? So while considering the case of group 13, normally it will be having a tendency for a +3 oxidation state as well as a +1 oxidation state. Okay, for group 13, boron, what about the atomic number? It is 5, isn't it? Boron atomic number 5, that means 1s2, 2s2, 2p1, isn't it? That means it has got a 2s2 configuration and a 2p1 configuration. That means for boron the configuration is, I'll be writing it like this, 1s2, 2s2, 2p1. So it can easily remove this one electron present in the p orbital, right? So if it is removing, or it can if it is donating this one electron present in the p orbital, what about the oxidation state of boron? It will be +1. Okay, so if it is removing the one electron present in the valence shell, it will be having a +1 oxidation state. Or otherwise, there is one more chance, it can remove the 2 electrons also present in the s orbital. Okay, so if these 3 electrons, that means in total 3 electrons, 1 electron in p and 2 electrons in the s orbital, so in total 3 electrons are there. If it is removing or if it is donating these 3 electrons, what about the oxidation state? It will be having +3 oxidation state. Okay, so normally in general we can say that this group, it has got +3 and +1 oxidation state for boron, etc. But down the group what happens? The atomic number increases, right? So what happens is that the elements will be heavier down the group, and down the group what happens is that the oxidation state +1 will be more stable while comparing with that of +3. Okay, or we can say that +1 oxidation state, the compounds with +1 oxidation state will be more stable than the compounds with +3 oxidation state down the group. As we are moving down the group, that is from gallium, indium, thallium, etc., the +1 oxidation state will be more stable. That means the s electron is more reluctant in taking part in chemical bonding. That means only the p electrons are shared for a chemical bonding, not the s electrons. So here it is 2s2, isn't it? For boron it is 2s2. Then down the group what happens? The s subshell, it will be, the number will be changing. So we can put it in general as ns2. Okay, it can be written as ns2 np1. Okay, in general for group 13 we can write the valence shell configuration as ns2 np1. So down the group, or when the elements become heavier, what happens? The s electrons will be more reluctant, or it will not be taking part in the chemical bond formation, or it will be reluctant in taking part in a bond formation. That means only the p electrons are involved in bond formation. So what happens if the p electrons are involved in bond formation? What about the oxidation state of that particular compound? It will be +1. Okay, so the oxidation state down the group, it will be +1, or the compounds with +1 oxidation state will be more stable. So this phenomenon, it is called as the inert pair effect. Okay, hope you are clear with this inert pair effect. I will be writing the definition as well. So inert pair effect, the definition. Inert pair effect, the reluctance of the s electron, the reluctance of the s electron pair. S electron pair means it is present in the ns2, isn't it? ns2, to participate in bond formation. To participate in bond formation. The reluctance of the s electron pair to participate in bond formation, it is called as the inert pair effect. And also the inert pair effect increases down the group. Inert pair effect increases down the group. Inert pair effect increases down the group. Okay. So from top to bottom we can say that the ns2 electron pair will be having lower oxidation state. That means for group 13 it will be having +1 oxidation state. So down the group normally the heavier elements will be having a lower oxidation state. The heavier elements will be having a lower oxidation state down the group. Okay. So the stability will also be increased down the group. Okay. So this is about the case of inert pair effect. So inert pair effect, it is the reluctance of the s electron pair to participate in bond formation. Inert pair effect increases down the group, and also the normally down the group or the elements at the bottom of the group, it will be having a lower oxidation state. Hope you are clear with this inert pair effect. It is very, very important. Inert pair effect, that is why I have skipped and I am teaching you in as the last part. So usually it will be asked for your university examination. It will be for a section B part, that means for a 2-mark question or for a 4-mark question. Okay. So this is inert pair effect. That means the reluctance of the s electrons or the ns2np1, that is the general configuration for group 13. So the reluctance of this s electrons to take part in this chemical bonding, it is called as the inert pair effect. Okay, hope you are clear up to this. If you are having any doubt, you can call me. Okay, thank you. You have to write the lecture notes also and upload it in the classroom. Okay, thank you.